Greetings, chess fans. I'm continuing my adventures in the 2025 FIDE World Cup. I'm playing at this stage for the first time in my life. I had played in 2021 FIDE Grand Swiss as one of the local players because it was organized in Riga. So this is my debut at the highest level possible. And three players from the FIDE World Cup out of 206 players will qualify straight to the candidates. So this is part of the World Championship cycle. Of course, I don't have any illusions that I will be the guy who is going to be trying to gun for the candidates. I'm just trying to have some fun. In the first round, in the very first game, I played a draw with the white color against a young Kazakhstan Grandmaster Alisher Suleymenov. He misplayed the position at some point, probably got a bit too ambitious, and I was winning. I did not find it, and I played it a draw. So today we were coming back for the second game. This time I'm playing with the black color. So the stakes are as follows. If we finish the game in a draw, the match gets to the tiebreak the next day. If either of us wins, we qualify to the next round where we would meet Jordan van Forest. So, all cards are revealed immediately. My opponent played e4. You know, I spent the entire morning, again, revisiting every single combination that my opponent can possibly play. He can play e4, he can play d4, he can play knight f3. I had to check all the files. Literally, I was doing it 3 hours non-stop. It's very tiring, but it had to be done so that I'm more or less on the same page. Now the cards are revealed. I'm playing my main stuff. I have been changing my repertoire lately. Knight c3, c5. Here we go, the semi-Tarrasch. I really like the opening because black has a lot of ways how to get a very nice game. I know that c takes on d4 is strictly to play for the draw. And actually, I've been hanging out here in Goa a lot with a fellow player from Lithuania, Titas Trimavičius, so we usually eat together. And he also plays the same with black, but after c takes on d5, he does play c takes on d4. I like this combination a bit better. Of course, I know c takes on d4, but this gives me at least some fighting chances. So we have some Grunfeld vibes. White typically plays e4, knight c3, b takes, c takes, c takes. And what was pretty remarkable in this game was the speed, how my opponent was playing it. And I was thinking he probably has seen my online games, and I was kind of regret that I didn't create an anonymous account where I would practice it. I'm sure he did it because I was unable to find any of his games online. But then again, I thought, what's the big deal, right? These are online games, and even if you know it's coming, whatever. I'm not afraid of any challenge you're going to throw at me. So bishop b4, bishop d2, takes, show castle, all of this is pretty standard. And here's something funny happen. So he touches the h-pawn, and I write down h4. Because h4 is a very interesting move, and I think there was a very high-level game of Magnus Carlsen against Lenier Dominguez Perez. By the way, Dominguez Perez is one of the big experts of the semi-Tarrasch in these positions, but I mean, I know this line really well. And then I looked at the board. Actually, no, it's h3. And I was a bit confused with this move. And I thought that my opponent probably wants to trick me into something that maybe I don't want to do. And I figure out it's got to do with the typical idea of b6, bishop b7. But I thought, okay, whatever. Just play b6. This is the core idea. Bishop b7, knight e7, and see what happens, right? So my big idea is, of course, I know that white has a very strong center, but I want to take the game to the endgame where I have a chance to organize an outside pass pawn. Now comes the big move, rook d1. And I knew this move, rook d1, but I knew it here. I knew that white can play rook d1, which is a pretty rare move, but it's played by very strong players. And now I have the idea to play bishop d7, to play bishop a4, and push the rook away. So let's say he plays bishop d3, I play bishop a4. He goes here, I play knight c6, and suddenly there's some pressure against the pawn on d4. So if he protects it, the typical idea is to play queen a5, maybe force the queens off the board, or force the white king to walk, right? So all of this is like, I know this really well. And now this h3, b6 through d1, I thought it's a pretty smart move order. And I thought, what should I do? Like, I didn't really have any illusions that I will be, like, worse. Because I could play, for example, just bishop b7, bishop d3, knight c6, bishop b1. Now, this is one of the most annoying ideas that white can try. And I could, like, play, I don't know, like queen d6 and short castle and rook d8 or maybe h6 at some point. But white could develop some initiative with typical idea of like e5, maybe queen d3, g6, queen e3, etc., 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 right? So white has created weakness on d5. I have a bit weakened king, and engine typically says it's about level. I'm pretty sure this was his idea. So I was thinking, what should I do? Should I go here? Should I try to be tricky? And I really was burning of the desire, try to kick my opponent after the prep. So I play queen d6. Now, queen e6 is a very typical maneuver in the semi-Tarrasch because I'm keeping all the options open. If white develops the bishop, I even can play bishop a6 and force the bishop trade. If white plays something like e5, I think it's very risky in this stage because then I'm going to play bishop a6 and white can just weaken the d5 square for no good reason. d5, the typical idea here just looks very risky because the king is on e1. So I was pretty happy with this queen d6. And also very often in similar positions, like let's say I play here, white has an idea to play queen f4. But I think it better works with this h4, h5 idea, something like bishop d3. And a queen on f4 for white stands really great. So that's why I felt that I killed a couple of birds with one stone. I made sure there's no queen f4, and I keep options to play bishop b7 or bishop a6, then depending on the occasion. So he played bishop d3. I thought actually bishop c4 made a bit more sense, and I was yet undecided. Am I going to play bishop b7 or bishop a6? Like, I was like pretty sure this is just dead equal. There's no problems. White doesn't have any kings at attack, and I'm going to deal with the center. But also, I mean, bishop b7 looks very interesting. White could probably play d5, e takes on d5, now castles, knight e7, take on d5, and we have our typical semi-Tarrasch position. I mean, white has nothing here. So one of the core white's idea is to play d6 at some point, but it's very difficult to accomplish. So he played bishop d3, and I thought I can play bishop a6 here, but knight c6 was feeling a bit more to the point because I'm attacking the pawn on d4. If he plays e5, I have queen b4, and I saw this line, bishop e4, takes on d2, and I don't think it really matters with what he takes. Bishop b7, knight c4, and I thought there was this very cute idea of knight a5. So knight a5 is bishop e4, and if he takes on b7, like, there's zero problems for black. Yeah, I mean, I even control the d6 square. And if he takes with the rook, well, then I just play bishop b7. Also, the same idea was after queen b4, he could take it, play bishop e4 now, rook b8, a3, knight e5, and I will never be worse here. Like, his knight actually is worse than my bishop. Like, I'm gonna play like bishop a6, bishop c4, b5, a5, b4, etc., etc., right? Maybe even bishop f5. Yeah, perhaps even bishop f5, b5, a5, b4, and I control the b1 square. So that was the big idea. And he played queen b2, which I thought was very natural. So he has to protect the pawn, because if he plays like bishop b1, I play bishop a6 and force his king in the center. And I quite did not believe that he can play something like e5, go for some inspired kings at attack, because the king is still in the center. Of course, I can just play queen b4 as well, but maybe I can even be ambitious and play something like, I don't know, queen e5. So he played queen b2, and this was the first critical moment of the game. I had two moves. I saw, of course, I could play queen b4 immediately, but I was very tempted to be ambitious and play rook d8. I mean, press the pawn. And for the longest time, I did not see that white can play short castle. I just did not see it. The point is, after knight e4, this is a terrible blunder. He just plays bishop c2. And because of the back rank, I would lose. So queen f6 is queen f6, and I can resign. So, of course, I would notice this after he would make a short castle, and I would have to play something like bishop b7, but then I have kept the queens on the board. And white is probably pressing a bit, but I don't think it's like a big deal. So as soon as I saw it, I decided to trade the queens. Queen b4, so he has to take it. Bishop b1 seems to be necessary. And again, like, I have absolutely equalized the game. I know that. And I was having a lot of conflicted feelings. Should I be ambitious here, or should I press for the tiebreaks? Like, I know the draw is, it means that we're heading to the tiebreaks, and I feel pretty confident about my chances in the tiebreaks. But then again, I can finish the match right here, right? And I have a pretty good position, so I was just not sure. I mean, should I be ambitious, or should I just dead equalize the game? So for the moment, I decided I'm going to be ambitious. So I play bishop a6, and I expect that he's going to play a3, bishop d3, he has to deal with the bishop. I thought rook d8, king e2, and whatever, knight e7. That's it, like, zero problems. I'm going to play rook c8, I'm going to play f6, king f7, his d pawn is going nowhere. I have my chances with the outside pass pawn, I just know this is dead equal. But he played king d2, and this means that he wants to fight. I was like pretty happy about this because this also gives me some chances. I play rook c8, he has to respond with rook c1, and yeah, here I realized it's better to keep as many pieces on the board as possible, because if I play the automatic move rook d8, he includes a trade, he plays a3, and plays rook c1. Like, I don't have any active ideas here. Of course, I can play knight e7 again, just head for a draw. Like, we are going to trade the rooks, everything is dead equal. But somehow I was like feeling maybe I can press a bit for something, because his king is a bit stuck in the center, so I played knight c6. And I thought that there's some nice tricks. For example, if he plays rook c3, he tries to double the rooks. I can play rook d8, rook d1, and there's some tricks with knight e4. Like, not super difficult stuff, but the point is this intermezzo check. So I take on f3, take on c8, and I'm just probably winning, right? So rook c3, rook d8, he would have to play king e3. Then I thought I'm going to play knight a5, take on c3, play knight c4, king f4, and something like this. So I was somewhere here and trying to understand it. White king on f4, is it a strength, or actually it's misplaced? Like, it's quite far away from my pass pawns to the queen side. But Stockfish, as usual, says this position is dead equal. So my opponent played king e3. And yeah, I was thinking, like, I have a million ways immediately to liquidate here. I can play just knight a5. He would probably play bishop d3. Oh wait, but bishop, yeah, I think it was bishop d3 here. And like takes and f6, and like, I have zero problems here. So then I thought, okay, I could do that, but suddenly I noticed there's a very, very tempting idea, which is f5. Because, I mean, the king on e3 kind of is in trouble, and I did it. But you know, it was very funny, because also the first game of our match, he played f5 against me, and that was a big mistake. So I was remembering that during the game, and I thought, what if I'm also making a mistake here? What if f5 is a very risky move? But I decided to take my chances. I mean, this is something that you probably know about me, is that I don't really shy away from a fight, and if I see an opportunity, I want to take it. So maybe the smarter option would be just play knight a5, trade rooks, etc., and just make a draw. So I want to go for a big fight. So I play f5, and the big threat is, in some lines, f4. So let's say he plays rook c3, I play a 4 check, unexpectedly I play rook d8, and again, now he has the same problem of protecting the pawn on d4. Let's say rook c1, knight x on d4, you already know the motive, rook c8, knight f3, right? So I thought this was a pretty cute trick, and if he takes on f5, his king is a bit exposed. Like, let's say takes, and what is the king doing there? Like knight e7, knight e5, stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this position. I'm going to put the knight on d5. I'm definitely not in trouble here. So I thought if somebody's risking, it's definitely white. So he probably thought to say he played g3, protecting against f4. And I spent a lot of time here trying to figure out what to do. Like, originally I thought I can take on e4 and play knight d4. Head to d5. But I thought that actually this position is probably a bit risky to me, because he's going to start to march with those pawns, f4, g4, g5. I'm going to play b5, a5, b4. But the problem is that the knight on e5 is more flexible than my bishop on c4, which actually feels like a gigantic pawn. So I was pretty confident I can do this, but somehow my gut instinct said, don't go here. So I decided to be a bit ambitious and play knight a5. I gambled a bit, and I expected that he's going to play knight e5. I will take on e4. I will play knight c4, takes it, bishop c4, and yeah, again, I think it's dead equal. Maybe white, because of the king on e3, is pressing a bit, but I mean, come on. Like, I have no weaknesses. The pawn on e6 is not weakness. So he took it at 5 unexpectedly. And I realized that he is about to activate his knight. Like, if I take on f5. Actually, I think this was also a move. Rook takes on c8, takes it. Bishop takes on f5, rook c3 check, king f4. I was looking at this line like bishop b7. Can I sack the pawn? Check here, d5, and etc. But then I thought, I'm risking, right? It's me who is risking here. I understand I have dynamics, but I'm still down a pawn. So I decided not to do that. And I gave a check. He has to go forward. And I play bishop e7. So suddenly the position becomes very sharp. And like, from one side I was pretty happy about it, but from the other side I felt that maybe I'm taking too many risks in this position where I could have just played for a solid equality. And now comes the critical moment. So white has like many choices, but my big threat, I mean, I just want to take on a5. Yeah, by the way, why I'm not taking on the 5 immediately? Because he pins my knight. And if I play b5, I think he can just play knight e5. And white's pieces are just standing better. At least I thought so. And the king on f4 is pretty great, actually. Not even talking about like the pawn on f5 being under attack in some lines. So that's why I had to include bishop b7. And I expected that he's going to play bishop d3. And it's quite funny because after the game I talked with my opponent, and we both thought that knight b2 is a move. Like, knight b2, if he plays bishop b1, knight c4, repeat position. He could take on c8 because I have intermezzo check on d3, so he has to go here. And now, very important accurate move order. I take it. He first takes on c8. He takes on e4. I sacrifice the pawn. I go rook c2. And I thought I'm having a lot of activity here. But actually, after knight e5, king e6, white is winning. Because of the dynamics, because of the strong pass pawn. Like, I was pretty sloppy with the calculation. So I cannot do this. I cannot play knight b2. And okay, here I have a better move. I can play knight e3, but I'm definitely worse after knight e5. I mean, white is pushing. And what he said, he didn't play bishop d3, not because of knight b2, but because of a sensational move g5. I did not see this move. So the point is, after king takes on g5, I take on f3. And he cannot take on c4 because of a pretty funny mate. So he cannot do that. And if he takes with the knight, there's a total mess on the board. Like, take the exchange on h1, rook h1, take on f5, probably some activate the knight, and whatever is this. So engine says a4, white is tiny bit better, but objectively it's total chaos on the board. I'm pretty sure I would have picked the line if I would have seen g5, but I already had basically decided I'm going to play knight b2, so I think I was a bit lucky, to be honest, because I did not see g5. Maybe I would have found it over the board. So, yeah. So he played rook e1, walked away from the pin, and now I have to liquidate. So I take on f3, I give a check on d2, and even though the position is simplifying, it doesn't mean there's no tricks here, because he can still sacrifice the piece and take on e6 for 2 connected pass pawns, and I have to make sure, like, this works. For example, king g2. Let's say if I decide to take on c1 and play knight b1, he could take on e6. Let's say knight e2, he could play d5 and knight e4 and f3 and hang on. Yeah, like, these pass pawns are really strong. So, yeah, knight c5 is a critical move here, but I had to, like, make sure this doesn't work. And after king g2, I wanted to play, what was it? I think it was like this, yeah. Takes, 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 knight e2, d5, knight e4, and I did not see anything for white. But it was pretty scary. And I had to look at this line in all kind of angles. Also, king g4 was very interesting. I thought king f4 was a bit inaccurate because I'm going to take on c1. I'm going to take on b1 and he could take on e6. And here, if somebody's playing for the win, it's just me. Like, I'm going to put the rook on a3, play king f7, king e7, king d6, outside pass pawn. Stockfish says it's an equal position, but I would definitely play with black. I would play this for the win. So after knight e2 check, he played king e3. And initially I thought, oh, did I blunder something? Because now the point is, I cannot take on c1 and take on b1 because now he sacrifices the piece. There's no knight c3, there's no knight e2. And he just dominates the position. Like, I didn't even check what happens after rook e8. Maybe some king e4, king e5, and d6, and it just feels really bad. Engine says it's losing. So after rook c1, instead of this, I took on b1. And if he now takes on b1, I collect on f5. And again, we go for the same endgame. I would be very happy to press. But he was very accurate. He took on c8. I took it. And now this idea of f takes on e6 doesn't work. Yeah, I just play knight c3 and the pawns are going nowhere. By the way, this idea of taking on e6 was also interesting here. I'll play knight c3 and e7 will be very interesting because rook e8, suddenly there's king d3. I cannot walk away with a knight. He takes on c8 and he promotes his pass pawn. But I'm quite happy to find knight e5, king d3, and knight e7. So I'm keeping my piece. And if he plays king d2, I think I have at least rook takes an f2 and rook e8, right? So I was very, very happy to find this. And of course, he saw all of this. He took on b1, he takes on f5, and now the position is liquidating to an equal rook king game. I thought that actually maybe he could press a bit here with rook e1, try to cut off my king, but ultimately the d pawn is going nowhere. So I thought I can at least play rook d8 if I find nothing. Like, let's say king c4, rook c8, king b5, rook d8. I mean, what are you doing here? Here, king a6, rook d7, king d5. Like, I have zero problems here. But apparently, I could also just allow the d pawn to go forward. Rook c5, king d4, rook c2, and start to give a lot of checks. And if white is being too ambitious, he can misplay this position. I'm going to block the pawn, and the rook is very active. So white already needs to bail out with a draw. So he played a4. And I played king e7. King e6 also was a move, but there were some tiny differences. Now I cannot play rook c6 here, so I have to play rook b8. And I played king e7, and I thought if he's going to play a5... Actually, I have to be a bit careful here, because there might be this endgame of rook b5, g6, and d5. And I was not in the mood to try to calculate, like, what on earth is this endgame? We have corresponding squares, mine squares. Can you enter? Can you not enter? Oh my goodness, like count all the 10 pieces in the pawn endgame. I was wishing this is not going to happen. And if I play rook d6, he plays king d4, king e5, he starts to press. So that's why I had decided, like, mentally, if he is going to play a5, I'm just going to play rook b8, whatever. You know, rook b8, king d6, g6, and be done with it. But he played h4, and after that I knew the game is over. Like, he's not being ambitious here. I play king d6, and since this is move 30, I offer a draw. And after 30-second think, my opponent accepted. So what does it mean? It means that the score in the match remains tied. It's 1 versus 1, and we're heading to the tiebreaks. So since I'm not familiar with the procedures of the World Cup, an arbiter immediately came after we finished our game, and he said, "You're heading to the tiebreaks tomorrow." I said, yes. And then he said, now you have to draw the color for tomorrow's first game. So I was asked as the higher rated player to select the color. I picked up the white pawn. So he's typically hiding two pawns, white and black, behind his back. I selected white. I don't know if it really matters in the rapid game. Maybe it's actually better to start with white in the rapid game and not in classical game. We'll see. So that's it. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'm not really sure when I'm going to publish this video, because the first rounds video I was uploading literally for 10 hours. Like, it was done in the evening of the Indian time. Like, after a couple of hours I had finished my first round game, it was done. I had done the recap. But the upload speed was like, I don't know, 100 kilobytes per second or something, maybe even less, like 64 kilobytes per second. So I left the laptop open and it was uploading the entire night. So, so that you get to see the recap in the morning. And then I scheduled it to be published shortly before the game. So I don't know when you're seeing this. Is this the day when I'm actually playing the tie breaks, or maybe a bit earlier? Either way, wish me luck in the tie breaks, and I hope it's all going to be good. So have a great day.